counter.
But no,
It feels very
Hello and welcome to the Unwanted Opinion podcast, the show in which me and my friends give our unwanted opinions on all things film. My name is Lewis and I'm joined today with Kyle.
Hello.
Hello, and Gonzalo.
Hey.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. You come?
Yeah. Well, we'll go into why.
We'll go into why Kyle's not feeling so hot.
I feel like I'm
No, I am
it's,
feeling hot. I am feeling hot. It is roasting in this country.
Yeah,
you feel hot.
Can we talk about
and also
climate change for a second here? Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, it's getting pretty bad. Actually, when I was on holiday to Barcelona, I was actually hotter in Glasgow than it was when I was there.
Barcelona.
Did you have
actually?
Did you have palelas while you were there, or chorizo?
No, you went to Papa John's.
I'm sorry, I've got a Spanish man here, and I wanted to impress him, but I guess you know what, I'll just butcher the language.
It's
then.
pronounced.
See, it's funny for the listeners. Well, it's funny for me, not the listeners, because he cut out as soon as he built up to say that, and now his audio is back to normal. So he cut out for you as well. So I don't actually know how it's meant to be said. I'll leave that a mystery. I'll leave that a mystery for
I
you.
just said it very quietly and creepily.
I thought he was just saying nothing on purpose.
No, I said it very quietly and very creepily, and Discord just kind of muted out because he thought it was it was like, oh, this is white noise. We're just taking this out. They're not wrong.
Anyway, on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the best films of the year so far. We're literally at the midpoint.
That's why we're starting with The Flash. Woo!
Let's go.
Mate, let me finish the intro. What the hell?
Sorry. It's just
Do you not know how I introduced this show? You've been doing this for over 60 episodes. Well, maybe not all of them, but still. 60 episodes. And you won't let me finish the intro?
Not behaving
Jesus Christ. Anyway, we're going to be talking about the best films of the year so far. So we've all got a couple films each that we want to talk about for biggest recommendations for the first 6 months of 2023. But first, me and Kyle have a review for the latest in the DC universe. Well, is it the DC universe anymore? Is it something else? Who knows? In The Flash. So, let's start off with The Flash, Kyle. I'll just give a brief synopsis here. So,
yes,
The Flash was...
Right.
What was that?
He's the one that runs fast, right? Yeah.
Yes, he's the hero that runs fast.
I think he's the one that talks to fish.
Fish. Fish. We're just ruining your episode today, Lewis.
Fair enough, it's just I hang out with non-professionals and I'm professional all the time.
But that's the thing. If we act less professional, you're going to look more professional thanks to us, so you're welcome.
True. Yeah. Anyway, the long-awaited Flash, which has been in development hell for, I think, a decade, is directed by Andy Muschietti and stars the... let's just say controversial Ezra Miller, as well as, beloved actors like Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck, Michael Shannon, Sasha Cale, and many others. So, the film picks up with a typical day in the life of Barry Allen, as he has to quickly save the day in between his morning routine. And later, after being frustrated with his day, Barry managed to run faster than the speed of light and now uncovers his ability to go back in time, even though that's something he already did in Zack Snyder's Justice League, but that's not canon. Anyway, with his newfound ability, Barry soon realizes he can go back in time to save the life of his mother, who he lost as a child, but in doing so creates even bigger problems within the multiverse. So that's all I'll say. That is the brief synopsis of The Flash. But yes. Kyle, why don't we start with you? What were your brief thoughts of The Flash?
What was your experience watching The Flash?
My experience of The Flash. So this is meant to be the Flashpoint storyline, because at one point the title of the film was just Flashpoint, and it's many development hellish kind of experiences. And what we have here is a very loose adaptation of the original comic, and subsequently a very good animated movie. If you haven't seen it, or if you want to see a good Flash film, watch that instead. Just that's pre-warning for where this is going, by the way. And obviously, we don't know if what this film was what they truly wanted to do, if it was because of the way the DCEU, which is this technically, apart from... So the DCEU is what we've had up till now, and then the DCU is what James Gunn will be creating going forward.
Okay. Could they not give it a better name?
No, there's so much rubbish in it. But anyway, this kind of is a mess basically, because it's not entirely sure of what the plot is. Because is it just going to do a flashpoint? Is it trying to introduce Barry Allen's origins and how he feels about the classic loss of his mother and his origin, and they kind of run up to it. And it really annoys me because the idea of the flashpoint is it's meant to be a very established character who has kind of finally had enough of being tormented. Because in the flashpoint, so I want to quickly I feel this is important. In the original kind of comics and lines, in some canon, is that the Reverse Flash kills his mother, and then he discovers that, and it's the rivalry, and it's the kind of build up of the kind of constant tormenting that he's had through Eobard Thawne or Hunter Zolomon or whatever kind of incarnation of the Reverse Flash it is.
Yeah, because it's literally a guy with his same exact set of powers whose goal in life is just to fuck his life up. Like, he just wants him to be miserable. Like, that's what he does. Yeah.
So then the idea is that he kind of then kind of gets too much and goes back and changes it to have his mother there. And this one, we're just kind of thrown into it, and it's like, his mother died. It was all very kind of different, and it was like it was so. They didn't want to actually introduce these characters of like the Reverse Flash or anything.
I wanted to ask, like, because in the entirety of the continuity, like, his mother dies when he's a child in a very mysterious way.
It's hinted that this is that the dad goes out to the shops, comes back, and she's been stabbed, and apparently it was like a home invasion in the midday. Like during lunchtime, or in bright sunlight.
Dinner, typical home invasion time. Yeah.
She comes in, and it's a bit garbage. And then, then the thing happens, and very early on in the film, you get introduced to an action sequence where it's set in present day with Ben Affleck's Batman.
And it's a goddamn nightmare.
And this is where it starts to get action scene, really bad. Because Gonzalo, the special effects in this. I'm just gonna briefly describe a scene. This is what they were going for the Quicksilver kitchen scene from Days of Future Past. I also feel a lot of this film has Days of Future Past feelings in it.
Yeah, but they nowhere near as so good as that scene. None of the scenes do anything as good as that.
But we have the Flash doing a whole slow-mo sequence because a hospital is falling apart. And what happens is there's a maternity ward that's fallen. And there's about 8 or 9 newborn infants are falling in the sky. And there's a wee sequence of
that's
Flash
really good
because,
like, if there's something that we know that people love to see in films, is CGI babies. It's like the least uncanny kind of
imagine
thing.
9 of them.
Yeah, wow, that sounds wonderfully creepy.
I have to say that this,
in
the first 5 minutes of this film, Ezra Miller puts a baby in a microwave. And I am not kidding.
Okay, that's so funny. Good job.
And then it starts in that, and you're like, can it get? Surely it can't get worse than this moment. And by gosh, it does. Through an entirely kind of rushed storyline of Flashpoint to completely underused characters of like Michael Keaton's Batman and I can't remember Sasha Calle as Supergirl, completely rushed and ruined. And I like when they first introduced Supergirl, I went, "Oh, I see what they're doing here. That's a smart move." And then it was completely wasted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, God.
Well, okay, I mean, look, I think that's a major issue with the entire pacing of the film and the way it's structured is really off. And I think by the time you get to Michael Keaton's Supergirl, the film actually it's like, oh, we've wasted too much time. We need to kind of move along now. And that becomes an issue. I'll get to that as well.
You think it has something to do with the fact that they're doing a story about like changing a status quo that was never set?
I mean, there's so much wrong with the basis of this, and it's also there's still a problem with the DC universe as it was, because I guess it's over now that James Gunn is rebooting it or whatever. And this is why I had a problem with Justice League and stuff like that, is that say what you will about Marvel world building, it isn't great. It's just our world, except with superheroes, right? But you can still visualize the world itself. The DC universe has been this complete mess, and that's why when Justice League came out, I actually kind of felt bad for Zack Snyder. It's like you can't make this a momentous occasion because the entire world feels so incoherent. Where is everybody? How does it all work? It's been a complete mess.
Yeah, because like
and even in Zack Snyder's Justice League, he couldn't. That was an improvement, sure, but that element and that problem with the DC universe was absolutely still there. And here, once again, I don't feel like this is a real world. I never ever did, and that problem just continues here in the Flash. Like, I'm like, what is this? Like, I don't have a clear visual idea of what the Gotham's like here. What Flash's cities is like. Like, it just feels like a mess. So, but there's getting that out of the way. Gotta start with the Ezra Miller in the room, okay? So I remember seeing a tweet from a critic coming out of CinemaCon when this premiered early. Basically, awful tweet, by the way. Yeah, I actually can't believe he still has a job, but anyway, it went something along the lines that Ezra Miller has committed a lot of problems, has a lot of problems, but you'll forget about them once you see this film. No, you fucking won't. His performance is fine. Yeah. And it's fine, sure, it's serviceable, but Barry as a character is obnoxious. Actually, they actually try and do that thing where it's like, if we point out, it's no longer a criticism, where he points out that he's obnoxious and annoying. He's obnoxious and annoying and he isn't funny, so there's a problem with your lead character who's there twice. There's two of them, right? So you've got that, which is a problem. Oh, yeah, look, people behind me were laughing, sure, but I found it quite annoying. Kyle was huffing and puffing.
Do they even try to make the other Flash seem different personality-wise at all?
What they try and do is the second Flash is him when he's 18. So the current Flash realizes how annoying and obnoxious he is and is trying to sort of, mentor him in a way, but it's Ezra Miller being annoying. Like, that's the shtick, and he has this grating laugh. So what about Michael Keaton? Well, unlike the marketing suggests, by the way, the marketing's done a fantastic job of misleading this film. Michael Keaton doesn't show up till about an hour into the film, and he's there for about half an hour and practically does nothing except exposition. And like I said to you guys before, it's not a cameo, it's a supporting role, absolutely. He's in the film for a substantial amount, but he has absolutely no character, and they try and get out, and they always try, because Andy Muschietti can't be fucked making this stylistic or interesting visually, he then has a narrative excuse of why Michael Keaton's Batman isn't in Tim Burton's world, with the whole multiverse stuff, and it's like, things can be rearranged and that. So he's also basically in the Man of Steel or whatever universe this is, and he's just the Batman there, instead of actually, what if we went to Tim Burton's world? Wouldn't that be interesting?
How amazing would it be, like, the opportunity to actually like highlight the aesthetic differences between all of these movies by actually changing the environments and not just dropping people into them, right?
He's there to deliver some classic lines, deliver exposition, do some action stuff. That's it. There's absolutely no development or nuance to him whatsoever. It doesn't even feel like the same Batman. I mean, I guess he's technically not, but whatever. I mean, it's funny because it's like, you think of No Way Home and how they handled the legacy characters with Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire and that, and they're actually handled with some charm and development. And when you compare them to Michael Keaton, it's really embarrassing, actually. Supergirl also has practically absolutely nothing to work with. She's in the film for about 15-20 minutes, and just there's nothing to it. They don't really give her anything.
What a waste. She seemed like such a good casting choice.
It was a shame. I did think that was completely wasted.
It was a shame. I really wanted the film to actually get to Keaton and Supergirl much earlier on, so they'd be with a unit for a substantial amount, but that is a lie in the marketing. So, and look, the story setup is fine. Look, there's a clear and relatable goal for the Flash in doing what he's doing. Like, it's something human, something you can relate to. However, you don't feel the pathos of this character or the weight of the multiverse fracturing, like in Spider-Verse, which came out embarrassingly for it 2 weeks ago. There's actually, but there is actually one scene towards the end where I felt a bit of emotion, of the quest and the whole point of the story, but it comes far too late, and it's something that also I think you could have rearranged earlier into the film to give it a bit more emotion, which I found it's just frustrating. And look, like Kyle said, look, the film, could all of it be excused if it's a fun action raid. Well, I guess that's a lot of problems, maybe not, but it's an absolutely hideous looking film. It's so ugly. It's what you're watching a rough cut. You're watching a rough cut. It's unfinished. It's not one action scene looks convincing. It's that bad. Maybe okay
for me at least.
Michael Keaton's stunt double.
Yeah. Like with
Michael
Zack
Keaton's stunt double
Snyder's
to
like,
get some
Justice
guys.
League, like at the very least it looked gorgeous, you know.
And look, that is. I said this to Kelly at the cinema. The problem with having iconography and visuals from 2013's Man of Steel and putting them in this is that, say what you will about Man of Steel, the visual effects in that film are astounding.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Fucking gorgeous.
This film, I think, costs more than that film and looks infinitely worse. I can't believe you have these visuals and stuff and you just... It's like what they did with Fast 10, having shots from Fast and Furious 5, which were shot on location, and then going to Fast 10 where they're shot on a green screen. We can fucking tell. It looks really bad. Yeah. And it's just none of it's convincing. It's just not pleasant to look at. I mean, this is a really bad looking film. It's really bad.
It's so annoying because, like, again, like Zack Snyder, say what you will about the guy, I don't particularly like his writing or his directorial style, but the man can really get beautiful shots and knows how to work with his VFX team.
Absolutely.
And give them the resources they need. That's the thing. He knows... Even people like fucking Michael Bay. I hate Michael Bay films. They look amazing. Why? Because the director knows how to do big budget filmmaking and knows how to work with their VFX, knows how to add and mix those practical and give the people that are later going to spend hours and hours doing VFX the things that they need to actually do them. Yeah. Doesn't just say, hey, there's a scene where 10 babies need to be CG'd into this. Have fun.
I have to say that, like, There's a scene in the later part where it kind of gives a kind of Crisis on Infinite Earths feel, where it's kind of in the climax and Barry is kind of contemplating if what his decision is right, okay? And then this is really much where I won't say what you see. Well, I'll go over it. It's the kind of the 20-second cameo fest, one would call it, okay?
Yeah. So kind of like that moment in like the third Spider-Man where like you started seeing all the silhouettes of all the villains.
Very much
very
so,
reminiscent.
Right? But instead
very similar.
of silhouettes, or instead of, I don't know, archive footage, there was always this really weird CGI tinge in the Speed Force, like over the characters.
Yeah, the Speed Force is hideous.
It was horrific. And you saw characters... Well, it was mainly multiple versions of one character, which wasn't the Flash, which kind of confused me. So I was kind of like...
It's a Flash movie.
What's the point in this? Yeah.
What is the point of all of this?
Cameos.
And
but look, the Speed Force thing is so funny because it's like, because Warner Brothers, broke off their relationship. Well, they broke off and then they brought it back on with Zack Snyder's Justice League. They gave them all the money to do that, which is fair enough. But it's like, we got a visually decent looking Speed Force in that Zack Snyder's Justice League, and yet they throw that in the bin for this horrible, nightmarish looking Speed Force. It looks terrible.
Even the fucking
it looks like they're
actually did a good Speed
standing
Force.
In one tiny confined hotel room. It's so weird. I don't understand why they went with that option when they actually kind of hint at Zack Snyder's Speed Force earlier in the film, and then they go, nah, we're going to do this one. And it's terrible. It's fucking awful. Anyway, Kyle, do you really want to jump into spoilers for the next 2 minutes? I'll put time codes, guys, if you want to skip this
just for 2 minutes, because there's actually a point that I didn't
brief
mention.
Spoilers, if you want to see this film, but don't.
So basically,
the
main villain, apart from the writing and directing, is younger Barry's self that becomes a future Dark Flash version. Yeah. Which is
because he becomes obsessed that, spoilers.
He could save them.
He couldn't save Michael Keaton's Batman and Supergirl die, and they can't be saved no matter how many times they try, and he becomes obsessed with that and does it for God knows how many times and becomes insane.
And you're kind of like, we all saw that this.
It's really good that they added that, because it's not like the Flash has any time traveling psychotic villains.
But that's the issue. I know. The annoying thing was, right? Because we all knew the Dark Flash was in it beforehand because it was like Funko Pops or marketing toys sort of thing like that. He was in it for so little that I was like, what actually is the point in that character?
No point.
Like, and then, so I want to then kind of jump on that you have, quickly dive into the cameos. Gal Gadot shows up for about 20 seconds in the first 10 minutes of the film.
Cool.
I don't understand
Get a
why
paycheck,
she's
I
still
guess.
doing this. She's not good. During this kind of crisis scene, okay, you see a really horrific CGI raining of Christopher Reeves. Christopher Reeves? Yeah, Christopher
Terrible.
Reeves.
Just fucking
And
why?
then, you would think it was a CGI rendering, but I know because Andy said that they brought him in to film for a day. Nicolas Cage's Superman, right? Because obviously he was originally going to be in a Superman film in the 1990s.
Yeah, the one with the long hair.
But I'm like, but you look at it and you're like, that's CGI. That's not like it's.
But
so
there's also like one picture of that, and it's not a movie that happened, so I don't.
Well, there's one picture, but there's also like a bunch of like
concept art and whatnot, and
like on stuff. Yeah. And then obviously the big thing at the end, right, where Barry comes back into the present after alternate. Now, obviously, the original comic book was actually to kind of start the new 52, where DC Universe would basically start all their comic books from fresh, and it makes sense with the whole what's happening in real life.
It was like a soft reboot,
and he comes in, and Bruce Wayne's coming up to him, and it's George Clooney out of all people, right? This is where we were having a bit of actually a talk about it last night, because this director, Andy Muschietti, is that his name? Yeah.
Muschietti.
He's going to be directing The Brave and the Bold, which would be the first Batman film in the DCU, okay? Which is going to be focused on an older Batman with Damian Wayne, who
There's no way George Clooney's
third or fourth from.
There's no way.
The thing is, George Clooney is the age that I would actually be thinking what this Batman
George Clooney
would
might be a bit too old for it, though. I think George Clooney's in his 60s now.
Is he? God, he looks good.
Yeah,
he looks good.
Of course, he looks amazing.
have to admit that.
You know what the problem with that is that actually there kind of already is a perfect older Batman they have, and that's Ben Affleck. And the problem, you know what? When I see Ben Affleck, I feel so fucking sorry for him when he's Batman, because genuinely, I actually really liked some of his performance in Batman vs Superman. He's just been handed the worst fucking hand with these goddamn screenplays. Like, even when I see him talking to Barry, for like a minute in this film, when he's telling him not to do it, I was like, Ben Affleck, I like you as an actor. You may have had some rough roles in your past, and it's just like, they really kind of fucked him over with and Henry Cavill, to be fair. Two really interesting casting choices, and it's just...
At least Henry Cavill,
I was like, there's your older Batman. There's your older Batman.
His own Games Workshop thing now, and he gets to be a space marine or something.
Yeah, so, I think he's happy. He's good.
But happy and look, this is the problem I have before we get to scores, is that this was kind of meant to be the soft reboot of the DC universe, that he's going to go back in time, change stuff, and look, we've got a fresh universe, all the stuff you know before, forget about it, right? Forget Batman vs Superman, forget Man of Steel, forget it all, blah, blah, blah. But there is not really any clear indication that was the case. There's no, sure, you've got this weird multiverse thing, but then he just returns to his universe as if, and his dad's there, and everything is exactly the same except George Clooney's Batman. There's no look at this fresh new universe. Look, this is it. All of it's gone.
Well,
no clear visual idea.
Yet.
It's just what?
They don't even have the concept art to show yet. So
well, they don't even have their world fleshed out enough to show you this is a new world. So it just feels like, was this the definitive end? Was this a reboot, or is this just a film?
I don't think it was going to be. I think it was made far too late,
right,
for it to be the definitive reboot, because nothing's been planned at all, really. There's nothing.
I want to say something, and it might be controversial, but I really like James Gunn as a director. I really like him as a writer. I don't know how he's gonna do with a connected universe, because we've never really seen him work.
As the main executive producer of this stuff, it will be a completely different thing.
There's two of them, working, and I do hope that there's gonna be it's not just the two of them in the room doing it. There will be people around them. They'll just have final say.
It's just for me. I know he's in an executive producer role, but I'm sure there's a push to make this a connected universe. We've always said it here. The DC does not need to be the MCU, and the MCU is showing that the MCU doesn't need to be the MCU. I don't understand this weird push to
It feels so late. It feels so late in the game to be doing something like this.
Out of interest, James Gunn did recently do an interview on the Inside of You podcast.
Okay. Yeah.
And he does talk about how he is trying to do things differently. Okay. Where I think there is a stigma from his bosses, even though he's the head.
Yeah. But he still has someone to respond to. Yeah.
But then he's also wanting to do it really differently and make it almost more kind of fantasy-esque in the sense that it's going to be a lot more, secret identity based.
Crazy.
Well, I mean, it's already kind of indicated with, was it chapter 1 or book 1 or some like gods and monsters?
It was like book 1,
books.
gods, or something.
It all means the same shit. Really.
That's the thing for me, though. Like, for me, DC has always been like, I don't know, Marvel is kind of like the grounded kind of thing. They always like struck that kind of like great note with making the quote-unquote relatable characters. They had the boom with the Fantastic Four, then Spider-Man, like this idea of like, these are human beings living in the world who have struggles, but also have incredible abilities. Whereas for me, the DC universe has always been this more fantasy kind of like ideal kind of like place to go to and stuff, and it has like so much more world building as well, like the idea of the locations and stuff, and the alternate. It feels like an alternate universe to ours,
For me, if you looked at like DC as a brand rather than DC, if you look at their individual films, I think they probably have better individual, like the Dark Knight trilogy, the Batman, like they have better kind of overall films in the terms of how they're made and everything than the MCU, which is very much quantity over quality at this rate. Yeah. But I do say, to finish up, I am kind of hopeful because how James Gunn handled Guardians 3, where he really probably was a bit pissed off about the whole thing with Disney.
He was like, fuck it.
How he handled that with so much care. I do think that this passion project of his, that it will be good, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay, let's get to scores, because I don't want to talk about this anymore. Right, Kyle, what are you giving it?
Let's go.
It's going to get a 2 out of 10 for me.
Wow. That's very generous, Kyle. That's very generous.
Yeah, I know.
Look, I've said everything I need to say. It's got a million problems. Ugly, boring, not funny. It's a 2 out of 10 for me as well. It's on par almost with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania with me. It's not a good film. It's just not. I can't look. There's people behind us and around us laughing at all the stuff when they were supposed to. I'm sure there are people in that cinema who absolutely enjoyed it. I just think it's just the bottom of the barrel entertainment.
I was laughing for the wrong reasons. I was laughing in that, am I actually seeing this on screen? Is this real?
But look, that was The Flash. Let's get that out of the way now. Now it's time to be more positive, guys. Let's talk about the best films we've seen so far this year. Let's get right into it. So, Kyle, do you have any honourable mentions before you begin with your first film?
Oh, that's a good point. My honourable mention. Yeah, my honourable mention was going to be The Fabelmans. Steven Spielberg's. Now, obviously, just for clarity, this is films that came out for us in this year, okay?
Yeah.
I know everybody would
Not
yell.
the States. We understand America. You get your films a little earlier sometimes.
Exactly.
Your goddamn Oscar films.
He's going to say a film from 2008 only came out this year.
Yes. And be like, oh my god, I finally watched that. What's it called? The Jurassic something. Oh, that was
great. Dominion. But yeah, no, The Fabelmans, which was basically the kind of biopic of Steven Spielberg. I say there's a lot of debates, but apparently on set it was literally just his life. An incredible film about an incredible film creator, about the origins of his love for the art and his struggles with his family. And I mean, everybody in it was fantastic, especially the Riddler himself, Paul
Dano. Yeah,
Paul Dano. Thank you. I do have a bit of a thing with the mum because I do think she was good. I don't think she was as good as her.
I think she was
pushing for her Oscar. But
it was also one of my top 5 of the year. I absolutely adored it. I think it's in Steven Spielberg's top 10 best films. And look, Gabriel LaBelle did not get enough credit for that lead performance as young Spielberg. He was absolutely phenomenal. Just a really magical film.
I want to say something about this film because, unsurprisingly, I haven't seen this film yet.
You will love this film. You will love this film.
I know I will, because I had the chance to read the script of this film. I think I've read like fucking 20, 40 pages of the script of this film right at the start. Reading the script made me cry. So I really think I'm going to enjoy this script.
You better watch it, Gonzalo. Right, okay, so...
Yeah, so I'll get into my first pick, if that's all right.
Yes, go ahead.
So my first pick is going to be Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Now, me and Lewis talked about this on the podcast a couple of weeks ago now, actually.
Yeah.
And this is one of the... These kind of films I love, because this is one experience where Lewis was like, you want to come see a film? I had zero clue what it was about. And I went in, and I was just like, this is incredible. Obviously, if you don't know, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret is about the story of Margaret, who is having to move to New Jersey from the city, like getting into a new life while kind of struggling with her identity and religion. Her mum is Christian, her dad is Jewish, but they both decide not to practice the religion. Which funnily enough, I always remember, actually kind of shares a funny parallel with the Fabelmans at the Christmas time.
Yes, it does.
They both have no decorations in their house, and it's like the only one in the street. But what you get here is honestly a lovely coming-of-age film. And, you know, for me and Lewis, who were probably not the target audience, we had such a blast in this film.
I loved it. It was an absolute
delight.
delight.
I honestly... I know Lewis probably gave it a 9 out of 10, but for me, I was just like, I didn't see anything wrong with this film. I thought the performances from the young cast, one of which was Cassie Lang in the first two Ant-Man films.
Abby Fortson, yeah.
Thank you. She was incredible, along with all of her kind of friends in the kind of school playground. The humour was so subtle but so brilliant. Rachel McAdams was fantastic, as well as her mum, and the father, who I can't remember his name. I know you said
Benny Safdie.
Yeah, he directed Uncut Gems. You said
and Good Time with his brother. Yeah,
they did a really good job at feeling like a really unique family, and I was so surprised and just. Oh, it's such a pleasant film, and I was just like so happy to see it.
It's one of those films that makes you feel really warm and just happy that you watched it. It's just really just tender and natural and delightful, and not soppy or cheesy. Like, it feels like a really sincere and genuine story.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like Kelly Freming Craig, we said she did The Age of 17 as well. Just really great coming of age films like that. That seems to be her niche so far. Just honestly, I want everyone to see it. Like Kyle, even my friend Harris, he saw it with his girlfriend and her mum and her sister, and he was like, yeah, they all loved it. I mean, they were definitely more the demographic than me, but he was like, I had a good time too. I was there. I know. I was just the guy.
It's one of those films that even when we were there was a couple of jokes that were made, and me and Lewis just didn't laugh because they just weren't aimed at us. And but then you still appreciate it, and the story of like just everything is so good. It has to be. God, it's currently my top film of the year.
Wow.
I don't know if it will shift at this moment, depending if Dune Part 2 is as great as I'm hoping it will be. But it's currently number one.
The fact that it's even competing with Dune Part 2 is kind of incredible.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, let's hope that Dune Part 2 is as good as Think is.
Well, but especially for like a movie you weren't even expecting to watch or knew anything about it.
I didn't know it existed before Lewis was like, "You want to come see this?"
Because I knew about the book. I didn't even know they were doing a film adaptation until you guys talked about it in the show.
But yeah, so that's my first.
Yeah, okay, great. Well, I'll quickly do a bunch of honourable mentions, and I will start with the one I never ever believed would be an honourable mention at the start of the year, and that is Dungeons and Dragons, a lovely, escapist, great fun adventure blockbuster. The trailers did it so dirty, man. I thought it'd be crap.
Those trailers are fucking awful. Like, they're so bad.
It's so fun. Chris Pine is a fantastic leading man. It just zips along. It's old school. It's great. It's just a really fun blockbuster. Really, really, absolutely deserved to make more money than it did.
The thing I didn't get the chance to ask you because I don't think I was in the episode where you did the review for this. Lewis, you always talk about that family entertainment, that like idea of that adventure film, that quintessential thing that like no one has managed to get in a lot of times. Do you think D&D would be one of these films for you?
I mean, look, it's rated 12, but it's honestly kind of a light 12. I don't really think it's anything really scary. I mean,
but would you put it on
the Red Wizards? But
I mean, Indiana Jones arguably has very scary moments. And stuff
well, Temple of
Doom
is scarier than this, I guess.
Doom
I mean,
the fuck out as a kid. So
absolutely, it's a good family watch. Absolutely, I reckon by Christmas time when this is on Sky Movies or whatever, a bunch of families are going to be like, "Oh, it's a great time. It's going to get a lot of buzz." I hope again. So, Dungeons & Dragons, biggest surprise of the year, absolutely incredible. I'm going to go Pearl as well, which is the prequel to X, which came out last year, and obviously this film came out last year in the States. A really cool, really inspired tragedy that it incorporates things like Sunset Boulevard as well as the color of like the Wizard of Oz. Just a really twisted, tragic story, which I just had a brilliant time. Sanctuary with Margaret Qualley was a brilliant 90-minute fun ride about this dominatrix and the submissive and how their whole sort of power dynamics change over the course of this evening. Brilliantly structured, great fun. I don't know if this film ever came out. Like, I genuinely don't know where it is. I saw it at the Glasgow Film Festival. Whenever it comes out, I will tell everyone. Reality, which I won't talk about because someone else will. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, someone else will talk about that. Ennis Men, Mark Jenkins, weird, psychological, trippy, Cornish, dark, bizarre, undescribable, surreal adventure, lonely, brilliant. Would be a brilliant double feature with The Lighthouse, I must admit. Marcel Lachelle with Shoes On, beautiful, just a lovely, heartwarming film, much like or There God It's Me, Margaret. Brilliant stop motion animation, little with reality stuff about family and throwing away fear and really taking charge of your own life. And now I'll finally get to my other pick because there's been so many good stuff. Look, this technically came out last year in the States. I know, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going Tar. Todd Field's Tar. I was a big defender of this when the Oscars happened.
Yes.
I was kind of sad that it left with no Oscars because I really think it deserved something. It was my second favourite of all the 10 nominees when I did my little Oscar ranking on unwantedopinion.net. And look, Tar... Why do I love Tar so much? Like, it's this grandiose art house picture, but it is absolutely a testament to what you can do with great character writing. Lydia Tarr, who's played by Cate Blanchett, is probably the most well-realised character of this year and last year of all of 2022. 2 years running so far for me. And I think it's Cate Blanchett's best performance in her entire career. It's just so captivating. I mean, the film could be directed like shit, but obviously the direction helps her performance. Look, it could be rough in other areas and that, but Cate Blanchett alone just is... You're just completely absorbed by her. She's so... just absolutely draws your eyes and ears to everything she's doing and saying. She's just a really captivating, powerful presence as Lydia Tarr is. And yeah, it's one of my absolute favourite performances in the last... I don't even know. Genuinely, it's one of the best performances I actually think I've ever seen in Cate Blanchett. And look, she's this sort of like, along with like Todd Field's screenplay, which I didn't mention, it's a very verbose film.
Yeah.
But it also feels really visually distinct. Like the camera in this film, the cinematography is really wide. Like you're in these like, operatic settings, and she's a conductor, of course, sorry, I should say. And you're in these, obviously, big, grand settings, and you feel the scale of it. Like, it feels massive, and what the camera allows the actors to do is really embody the frame and really explore the script. It's sort of those things where it's like, I'm trying to think of something like Good Will Hunting isn't very visually significant or memorable, but a lot of people love that film because of the story and the screenplay and the performances, whereas this film has that but also has a very clear, distinct visual quality, not to mention this whole weird sense of dread that hangs over the entirety of the film in Tar's head because of secrets of her past that are beginning to come out, and there's this whole even moments of horror and dreams of fate, and there's even ghosts in it. Like I there's so much to unpack in Tar. I watched it and then was like, oh, it's what, like I said, Gonzalo at the time when I reviewed it. I actually only gave it an 8 out of 10 when I reviewed it, but over time it's genuinely, I was like,
you did say, I suspect like this is something that I'm gonna like ruminate on.
Yeah, and the more I ruminate, the more I think about it, and the more little things I see, even just like all the little videos and stuff, there is ghosts in the film, Gonzalo. There's ghosts hidden in the frames of like plenty of the shots. And I was like, nah, someone's made that up. And then you slow down. I'm like, oh my god, there's genuinely another person in the room.
So like you
and I'm like,
felt
oh my
it,
god,
but
that
you
adds,
didn't even
that
notice
adds,
it. That's amazing.
Yeah, it adds an entire other layer to what the point and what's going on in this whole sort of psychological weird twisted film. I mean, it's dense. It's a really dense film. But it's also distinct, and much like this titular character, it has many secrets to uncover. I can't wait to get the Blu-ray. Can't wait to watch it again. But it is something that is overwhelming, and at first, perhaps too overwhelming, because you're dealing with some really heavy subject matter. You're dealing with things like suicide, cancel culture. All sorts of these big things, predatory people in power, and also the whole imbalance of, art. Can you separate art from the artist? And there's a whole fantastic one-shot sequence that sort of, makes that really eloquent point, but also it's very murky and complicated because of the person who's delivering that monologue. It's very problematic. It's just... And I love the fact that it duped a lot of like Fox News media into believing that it was a anti-cancel culture movie, when that's not the point of the film. Anyway,
it happens a lot though nowadays. Like most of the people that think that way don't understand nuance. So you know.
And that's genuinely look. If someone out there is a writer and you really want to study what makes good character writing, just watch Tar, and you'll be like, oh my god, that is... And it kind of upsets me. I really do think it deserved that original screenplay Oscar. Yeah. Sorry, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I know you're a guess more flashy, and I get, multiversal stuff. I get it.
I can't disagree with you because I haven't seen Tar yet, so...
But I really thought, and Kate Blanchett, I just wanted it to get one of them. Yes. just one. But look, I get it,
It is the Oscars after all. If you think about it, they don't really
The weird thing is, though, this is the more Oscar-y film than Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it won nothing.
I am still very shocked that Everything Everywhere All at Once got nominated in the first place, or won anything at all, much less fucking sweeped the entire event. That is still like... Yes. It's still a thing I'm like you say, ruminating.
But yes, Tar is my first pick. I cannot wait to see it again. I actually tried to watch it again. Kate re-released in cinemas in May, but I just never got time to see it again. I was like, damn. Right, Gonzalo, on to you.
Okay, so I would do honorable mentions, but I think I've seen 3 movies this year in cinemas. So I think I'm just gonna go straight into it. Not much of a chance to do anything else there. But yeah, I will say I'm gonna start briefly with Spider-Verse, because Across the Spider-Verse was fantastic and beautiful and gorgeous and brilliant, and I've seen it twice now, and I loved it even more the second time.
I did my spiel in there.
It's just fucking great, from the small moments with like the scenes where he's talking to his parents, to the gigantic action scenes. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I just want to say it's gorgeous. We did a whole episode last week.
We did. You're right. It is beautiful. I've been listening to the soundtrack over and over.
Right, well done. Right, love you.
So good.
See,
I think that's also great with movies. If you've got a good soundtrack as well.
Yes. I did
10 out of 10.
I did see a whole video essay about the soundtrack of the first movie that really like clicked my mind to something, because I didn't realize it, but like, even when they're using like pop music, and they're using like their like rap music and all that stuff, like they're using like actual like pieces of music from outside the soundtrack and stuff. Even when they're doing that, they're mixing in like the leitmotifs and the actual like soundtrack of the movie with those pieces. And that's not a thing I noticed at all on my first viewing, and I had to like, after watching that, I was like, holy shit. But like, that very good scene in the first movie, and I'm gonna spoil the first movie, but that scene where he comes into himself, it came out all, come on guys.
The what's up
danger, that whole thing,
yeah.
Fantastic song, What's Up Danger, but like, it does not hit the same without having that little
up.
Oh my god, that leitmotif that you have of like fucking it just in the background going in and out, and like it really does like change it completely. even like fucking Sunflower has a little kind of like little bits of soundtrack snuck into it right at the beginning of the song. And I feel like this movie on a second watch, I noticed that it did that a lot as well. And again, characters, amazing. Plot, I think, was written fantastically. I love the interactions. This is the kind of movie where like I feel like the characters are so incredibly fascinating and great and awesome that I would just watch a whole movie where you just put them in a room together and see what happens. You know, it's that kind of character. Yeah. They kind of write themselves. Yeah,
just put them in a room and see what happens. Sort of thing.
Yeah, because like I've generally seen a lot of people that I'm friends with and others that I don't know, like artists, doing like little fan comics about the movie and stuff. And honestly, they kind of just write themselves. I have this friend who did a really cute panel of like the Spider-Gwen and Miles kind of like babysitting Peter B. Parker's daughter and stuff and things. Yeah. And it's just, the characters are so fucking well developed that it felt like a gag from the movie, to the point where when the comic ended, I kind of knew what was going to happen next just because of how well developed these characters are. It's fantastic, honestly. It's great. And I already did a whole rant about the fucking animation.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like we literally did this episode last week.
We did, guys. I think it's great. Yeah, this is just. I'm just indulging myself here at this point. But honestly, I rewatched the first movie after watching the second one. It's weird how much of a jump the animation feels like it did between the two movies. Because when you're watching the second one, you don't remember, but like then you watch the first one and it's still a fucking gorgeous masterpiece. But god damn, did they take it up a notch. It's great. It's amazing.
And then we only have to wait a year till the next one.
Yes.
Or maybe even more.
Yeah. Whatever happens, honestly, if they deliver something as amazing as this one, I'm happy to wait. But yeah, so apart from that, I'm going to go with a weird pick that I didn't know released this year, because when I watched it was so much after I had seen any trailers or anything. Because, like, I watched it like a month after it came out and stuff. While I was visiting my sister, she took me to watch John Wick Part 4.
Chapter 4, yeah.
God damn, that was gorgeous. Holy
brilliant.
Shit.
I love John Wick Chapter 4.
Holy shit, that movie. I don't think my sister watched Chapter 3 or Chapter 4. I know she watched the first one because, surprisingly, it was one of those things that I recommended to her, thinking she wouldn't like it, and she really did. And she was the one to suggest to go watch the Part 4. She absolutely loved it. Like, honestly, it was great seeing her reaction and hearing her talk about the movie and stuff. That movie was gorgeous. That movie was just fucking like a work of art.
Gonzalez also in my top 5 of the year. I didn't mention some honorable mentions because
because I was gonna.
You're gonna talk about it. But I mean, look, the thing that got me was the absolute scale of it. Like, it's a $100 million film, and you're like, the money's there.
Yeah,
you get films that are double or triple that. Yeah, they actually use the money instead of committing fraud, like every other big box office, big budget film that clearly gets made. Like, it's like, that's $100 million. Where's that Flash? Why your film not look like this? You know,
they didn't use the money just for catering. Like, it's incredible.
Also the fact that. There's something, I said this when we did the reviews, that not only is the stunt work just, these stunt men are just, and women are just absolutely just giving it their all. Like, I'm surprised no one died on the set of this. Jesus Christ.
I just want to say, this has to be like every stuntman in the business had to work in this fucking movie. Like, this. Oh my God. Because, like, I've never seen so many amazing people in one shot at the same time.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's, you know, Kyle, did we describe it as an action ensemble, like an ensemble piece with action? But that's the thing that got me as well, is that the John Wick films have, by every single installment, not only has the action got more complicated and bigger and cooler without losing its essence,
its groundness,
but also. There's also this really funny comedic edge to a lot of the action. Like, it knows when it wants to make you laugh. You know, it does all this really funny stuff.
Do you know the thing for me about this movie? It was cringy in the most amazing way possible. Like, they had moments where they were like, we're going to do the corniest fucking possible thing right now, and you're going to be into it. And I was into it. And it was amazing. These movies, to me, remind me of old school musicals, the ones with a lot of really intricate, beautiful dance scenes. Because it is kind of what they are. Like, they are doing a fight scene and all, but
it's choreography, isn't it? Yeah. It's just a different form of it.
It's so beautiful, and it's choreography filmed by someone who does choreography, by a team who's used to, like, designing the action, so they know how to film it, they know when to cut, they know when to just leave it there and let us watch what's happening. You know, they don't need to, like, complicate themselves with that. It's like, we've already worked on this incredible choreography, we're just gonna let you fucking watch it. Like, that sword fight between those two guys at the fucking I think it was the beginning of the movie. This movie felt both like an hour long and 50 hours long at the same time, because so much shit happened, but it also breezed past because it was just so entertaining. There was not a dull moment, but this movie had such good just quiet moments. Like, oh my god, like, it was an action movie, but it was like, okay, we're just gonna let you, like, just soak in this atmosphere for a little bit. Oh god, masterpiece, fucking amazing. Loved it. I'm so glad I watched it.
It's action masterclass, and even
very much
me,
so, yeah.
As you know me guys, I love Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible 7's got a lot to live up to in terms of the action department. Oh my god, it's got to work out for it because this film came out.
Yeah. So. I hope they hire some of the people to do the hand-to-hand fight scenes at the very least. Because I will always remember the Fallout where you get the cocking of the fists.
Oh, Mission Impossible Fallout.
Oh my god, that's great. That's great.
Well, I want to actually talk about very light spoilers for 2 minutes. So we'll talk about John Wick Chapter 4. So spoilers. If you haven't listened to it, skip ahead 2 minutes. Yes. So we all know I won't be too direct with it. We all know what happens in the end, right?
Yes.
Now, Gonzalo.
Yes.
There are rumours that John Wick 5 is in development.
Yes.
What do you make of that? Because I never asked you this at the time. I got Kyle talked about
I see it possible because it's fairly vague about the exact situation. Like, it shows it, but it doesn't really... I feel like the filmmaking itself doesn't give it a definitive... Like, we have certain tropes to show, hey, this is 100%, they're gone. And none of them were really used. You know what I mean?
Well, look, do you not feel like there's not really...
That's my main issue with it.
Yeah.
Do you not feel like there's kind of nowhere left to sort up the ante?
I think how they ended it was a perfect ending, and I wouldn't want another one. But at the same time, I didn't want another one after the first one. So I feel like if they do make another one, they're gonna do good. They know what the fuck they're doing. So I'm
gonna do good.
Yeah, like, I'm no one to tell them what the fuck they're doing. Because, like, somehow in this one, they expanded the fucking, like, spectrum of what they were going for so hard, and still left that mystery and that intrigue of how the world works exactly.
The world feels fleshed out, but also mysterious at the same time. It's very well done.
That's the thing. It's so fucking hard to make it feel so fleshed out, but also so vague at the same time. Like, fleshed out enough for you to understand what the fuck is happening, but still, like... Yeah, we still don't know everything. We still don't know who's on top. We still don't know who the thing... We have so many fucking unanswered questions. I loved it. I'm really happy. If they do another one, if they do this good a job, I'm gonna be happy. So
just infinite John Wicks.
Just
till the
all
end
of the
time.
John Wicks.
John Wicks every 2 years.
Yeah, maybe the sequel is about the dog, who's also called John Wick, and now he takes the gun.
We got 4 John Wicks in the space of 9 years. We got 2 Avatars in 13. And all 4 of them are better than those 2. You know, it's just weird. Anyway, Kyle. What's your final pick for the evening?
My final pick is going to be Reality, which we haven't actually talked about.
No, we saw it last week and we were going to review it, but Kyle chose it as one of his picks. So
so Reality, which
it's kind of a tiny review. It's a kind of review.
Yeah, for us it was a kind of cinema release, but it's on HBO Max or Max, now in the States. So I know you
Max, formerly called HBO. Yeah, I can watch it.
Yeah. I was about to say you could watch it. So I would say let's give it a shot. Okay. So this follows. It's a really cool premise actually. This film, but to give it the kind of basic rundown, it's following the kind of interrogation of Reality Winters, who was known for releasing secretive NSA documents about the Russian interference in the 2016 US elections.
Okay.
And what is cool about this, which we didn't, well, I definitely didn't know about it. I don't think Lewis knew.
I didn't know
when we went to the cinema. It basically come up and says all the dialogue is from the recording that the FBI agent took, and literally nobody starts talking until the FBI
clicks the thing.
Agent clicks record on his little pocket microphone, and they do a really cool thing where they do jump occasionally to the transcript to show you that it is literally word for words what is being said.
Yeah.
And
fascinating concept, really interesting concept.
I was like, I was in such like, this is really, they have a really cool, the best way I put it is glitching from Across the Spider-Verse, where there's redacted information that they can't say, and they do this really cool glitching Black Mirror effect where the character just vanishes for a couple of seconds.
You know, it was funny, Kel. I'll let you carry on. Just see when that information came on the screen is like everything you're about to hear or whatever is like came from this transcript or whatever. I was like, right, this is either gonna go one of two ways. Like I was like, no.
It's either Paranormal Activity or like
this could be really fucking dull.
But
it's not. It's not.
But that's cool. That's a really awesome concept. Yeah.
So a lot of it is just Reality Winter played by Sydney Sweeney, who I've never seen actually perform anything. So this is a really, really good kind of first introduction to her as an actor, because I was like, this is incredible. And the two agents, Taylor and Garrick, who are kind of sitting there, who go in and they basically sit in a room and stand in the room and have a chat with her. And you know me, Lewis, I do love a film where it's just people sitting in a room chatting. I do love that. And what we get is such an intense kind of... It's really short. It's about 80 minutes, 82 minutes.
Yeah, it's not long.
It's not long.
Zips by.
And it flies by. And you get to really see these FBI agents work their interrogation methods. Because me and Lewis are sitting there, there's times they're just chatting about, how much do you bench and stuff like that, and it's
about their dogs,
kind of loosening her up and everything, and then 2 seconds later turns around and goes, "Yeah, we know you did it." It goes from a lot of denial and then kind of acceptance of it.
Josh Hamilton plays Agent Garrick, right? Who's the one of the two main agents who is interrogating her, and the casting of this was absolutely inspired for this guy because and the way they dress him, right, and his whole look, and when you first see him, he just feels like this really awkward guy, really by the books kind of dork. Really, is kind of the way you describe it. Dorky, kind of struggling to make small talk, really awkward, and then boom, he can just click on and he becomes so intense and cold and unsettling. And I was like, oh my god, this guy is like,
good training.
How does he do that as a performer? I was like, wow, he just manages to switch it on. And the performances from the three main leads, like you, Kyle, I've not really seen Sydney Sweeney or anything. I've not watched Euphoria. Her just a brilliant, I really expect her right now currently to see her get an Oscar nomination for this because it's
okay.
And honestly, I mean, I feel like, she's the bigger star. She'll get an Oscar nomination over the likes of Josh Hamilton or the others. But the main trio here is so convincing and natural, and it's such an unnerving, really tense experience. Even though, it's a true story, I guess you know what's going to happen.
Yeah, but I guess this is the kind of thing that lives and dies with like the casting, honestly.
Yeah. It's the process of interrogation and the slow unraveling of reality. It's
and it's weird because there's a line in it where she compares herself to not trying to be Snowden, and it's a very interesting kind of realization of why she did what she did, and it's very human in the fact that she was slowly getting fed up with everything, getting really just angry. And I mean, fantastic name because it really works well as a title.
Oh yeah.
That her name is literally Reality Winters. It's like it's brilliant.
Reality Winner is her last
which
name.
Which is just like
Winner, not Winter.
Brilliant because like also like a statement on like the fact that the interrogation is attempting to figure out what reality is, but are they really, or do they just want to set their reality over what's going on? Like what is real?
There's also the film. I'll quickly say the film also has this double edge to it, right? Because there's also something that there's one woman in the cast and everyone else is men, right? Like dozens of men, right, going in, and the way the camera kind of works on things, and the way it lingers, and the way these guys are looking her up and down. There is a real, you can read it as a really invasive kind of. There's an invasive, really kind of disgusting element to it, which I think was very purposeful. By Tina Satter, who directed it.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Like, there's this whole sort of pseudo sexual thing going on with it.
Yeah. Like a violation of your space and your mind at the same time. Kind of. So
that's
it's
fascinating.
Just like I'm gonna. You guys sold me in this one. I'm
absolutely get it. Watch if you got Max, watch it.
Yeah, I got 80
and
minutes.
It's so
even at 80 minutes, I was like, oh, it's over. I thought we were only an hour in. I thought I had another 20 minutes. It was just it zips by.
That's the kind of thing with these films where it's just dialogue. You're so engrossed in it that you don't know where you are.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Mass to be streaming, honestly, because I'm fascinated by these.
Mass, well, good luck getting that streamed, mate.
Oh, I know, God damn it.
You'll never see that film again.
Never.
Yes.
But no, Reality. I mean, I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. Just we've not actually reviewed it on the show.
Me too.
But that has to be one again. Like with Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I didn't really know much about it. Just went and saw it and had a fantastic time. So those are the kind of films I'm like. Just go and see films randomly. They're great.
It's the kind of thing where like you hear a lot of people complain about like films aren't good anymore, and no, there are good films. They're just not there. Just don't go watch them.
Yeah, people just don't go see them. People just don't go see them.
Which I also don't blame them for it, because when you're wanting to, like, especially like if someone isn't obsessed with films like we fucking weirdos are. Like if someone isn't like searching for that kind of thing, like film is something you're supposed to like, it's like a little treat, a little snack. It's something that you get to do every once in a while, a little breather. So if you have to do homework in order to go watch something, like to figure out what the fuck you're gonna watch and whether it's good or not, that feels like way too restrictive and
too much.
And I understand why people aren't going to see these fantastic movies, because they don't know they exist.
If they're not on the side of a bus, then how you meant to know?
Generally though, it's generally that, like, they have no idea these movies exist because they don't have ginormous advertising budgets. I mean, even the ones that do, sometimes I forget are coming out. I forgot about The Flash until I went to see the freaking Spider-Verse one and saw the Flash poster, and I was like, oh shit, that's happening.
The
trailer.
Yeah. I know, it's a sad thing. I wrote a whole article about that actually for ages ago.
Where can we find this article?
Actually, on the Magdalene magazine for Dundee or moviemeter.com. They're two different places.
I mean, you might as well plug it. We've mentioned it. It's
I don't think it's even on my site. Did I?
Start...
Actually, I think it is on my site actually.
Okay. Lewis, you should start taking all those articles you've written and actually put them on your site.
It is unwantedopinion.net as well, guys. And it's called Sequels. Sequels, Reboots, and Remakes? Are they really the problem? And it goes into that whole thing. Okay, but my number one film, along with Tar, I guess I should say, is The Eight Mountains, an Italian film directed by Felix Van Georgian and Charlotte van der Smeersch. I hope I didn't butcher your names. I'm sorry. They also co-wrote the screenplay with Paolo Cognetti. So, it was all of them together. So wrote this film. It was a movie film, so I'm sure it's going to come to movie streaming soon. I will obviously update you when that does happen, because it's my biggest recommendation so far this year. So it stars Luca Marinelli, who's Pietro, and Alessandro Borghi, who plays Bruno. And so the story begins quite sweetly when Pietro, a boy from Turan, befriends Bruno, the only boy in the village of Grana, which is in the Italian Alps. And since Bruno is estranged from his parents, Pietro's parents then believe he should be educated in the city of Turan with Pietro, which strangely irks Pietro. Why would he not want his best friend to, be educated and go to the same school as him and, integrate with his other, friends from Turan? Yeah. But it's because Pietro believes Bruno is sort of the essence of a simpler life, sort of untainted by modernity, and wishes him to remain that way. Wants him to keep him on the mountain. He's his holiday friend. He goes sees him every summer. He doesn't really want to
taint him with the more
modern life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so from here, the film jumps through different portions of their lives together and their sort of evolving friendship through adulthood. And that's kind of all I'll say about it. I mean, it goes from, like I said, them at 11, a brief encounter with them as teenagers, and then jumps ahead to them as adults and sort of how their relationship has changed and what they become.
Yeah, so very much like an exploration of their relationship throughout their life.
Yes. Absolutely. And so the film's dissection of life and like the arduous task of finding your calling is it's a really honest depiction of that. It's beautiful at times and it's brutal at times, but there's something about the Mountains which is just really honest, and the film is also absolutely beautiful. It's a feast for the eyes. It's stunning. You're seeing all these mountainscapes and the mountain settings of Italy and Switzerland and other locations of the world. It's beautiful, and it has this great little aspect ratio as well, which makes the whole thing feel like you're looking at a photo within a frame. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And so this sort of ever-changing relationship between Pietro and Bruno feels natural, but also invokes a sense of injustice at times, and another character's relationship makes you feel like they've been cheated. It's a really interesting sort of parallel lives going on. One person finds their calling quite early on, whereas the other feels left behind, and then roles get reversed, and roles weirdly become interchanged with the family, Pietro's family dynamics. It's very, very. I just love that whole sort of this really interesting sort of character dynamic and character writing, and sort of leaves the two of them sort of bitter with each other, but also loving each other. It's great, and sort of like that whole is nuance, and there's a sincere character development rather than just contrivance as well. And I just thought the entire thing was just beautiful, not just through the cinematography and the character and stuff like that, but just the whole thing feels just like a really natural progression of two human beings.
Yeah.
And really touching, and also really, really sad and hard at times.
That's hard to capture in this kind of films when you're jumping in time and stuff,
Yeah, and you could sort of just, to boil it down to its basics, it's sort of capturing life. It's a story of just, two people going through life lost and needing each other at different points. And it's beautiful and it's brutal, and it's just one that we really kind of need to see. It's like I said, it'll be on maybe soon.
Yay.
And I really, really... What? Hey, Gonzalo can see it. Hey.
I can actually watch it.
And yeah, it's really touching, and it's really meditative. Oh my god, I can't say that word. Meditative.
Yes.
As well. There's points where you feel really tranquil and at peace with it because of just the way it's shot and put together. It's just stunning. It really is. And this was also this debuted at Cannes last year and then didn't get a release till this year in most territories. So if you guys are following Cannes, you want to take their recommendation. The jury liked it there too, so wait. So, yeah, The Eight Mountains is up there for me with one of the best films so far of 2023.
Nice.
But, yeah.
Wow.
So, I hope you see it, Gonzalo. You especially,
yes.
Make you work for your films. But, yes, I guess that will wrap it up for today's show. So, thank you very much, Gonzalo, for joining me.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
And thank you, Kyle, as well.
You're welcome. Pleasure as always.
Yes, so, look, we just gave our best films of the year, but next episode we're going to have to flip the coin, guys. And we're going to have to be talking about the worst films so far this year. I wonder if you can guess what one of them is going to be after today's episode.
I'm gonna have to watch some bad films real quick because I got 3 and they were all fucking great.
I don't want to
have a really rubbish weekend, pal. Just watching terrible films.
See the homework they make me do, guys. Come on, justice for Gonzalo on the comments, please.
A couple of mine are already on streaming services, so you can.
Yeah,
I can
that's
tell
true.
you
I
to
could
watch
watch
them
Ant-Man.
if you want. But look, we just gave our opinions on John Wick Chapter 4, Reality, Across the Spider-Verse, The Fablemans. What else did you say? Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, The Eight Mountains, and Tar, and many, many others, as well as the greatest film of the year, The Flash. But at the end of the day, those were our unwanted opinions. Oh my god! Thank you very much.